celebrity allure of entrepreneurship, many exceptional entrepreneurs remain shadowed. Here, I team up with these hidden talents to unveil their challenges and successes. Dive in with me to unearth entrepreneurial gems, learn from our experiences, and get educated. Ryan Johansen, man, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. Excited to be here. We've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah, we have been talking about it for a while. And then actually seeing you on the weekend for your 25th, as you call it, smashiversary, was awesome to see you. And congrats on that.
Yeah, thanks. It was a good little celebration. The weather held out like it was supposed to. So yeah, still here to talk about it. So.
Yeah. So if we don't tell people what that was about, they'll think we were getting smashed.
Yeah. Well, we might as well get right into it then. That'll be the first question.
Right. So do you want to just explain the smashiversary? And
yeah, it's just kind of a celebration I do every year on July 29th, because 25 years ago this year, I got hit by a truck on my motorcycle, ended up broken my back, ribs, everything else, but the back was the serious one, and landed me in the wheelchair and whatnot. But I also died a couple of times on the operating table, and so yeah, I just take that day every year to kind of be appreciative to still be here. Thank everybody who's been there at the beginning of that journey and still continues. Just really a day to appreciate all the great things in my life, and yeah, surround myself with people I enjoy being around. So we usually do it up at the lake here, and the weather held out. So we had I don't know how many people, maybe 100 or so, stopped by this year. Good barbecue, had some good stuff on the grill. So yeah, just a fun day. So try to do that every year, and just to make sure feeling grateful, feeling thankful. So, and it was great to see you. So thanks for coming by.
Hey, well, listen, love, thanks for inviting. And we've known each other, she's close 20 years now, I guess it is, maybe more. It's so I'll start by saying this. I'm a huge role modeler. It's a big part of my life. I don't talk about it a lot to, friends and family and stuff like that, but in every kind of piece of my life, whether it's my relationship, and it could be specific things in my relationship, it could be marketing in my business, it could be health, nutrition, whatever it is, peak performance. I choose role models, and I get very granular about, how they kind of fits. Like, the primary question I ask is like, in this situation comes up, what would so-and-so do? And, you've been a huge role model for me. Watching you live your life to the fullest, to say the least, has been like a privilege. It's been an honor. And it was one of the things that when you look and say, like, you're going down a list of people and going, who do I want to bring on to the podcast that has not just a compelling story, but just lives a life of, real purpose and real focus and drive. You do that, and you live a life fuller than anybody I know, really. And you've broken so many barriers. You're successful in business and real estate. You're successful just in your attitude. You're successful in relationships. Like, it's really like you're a real role model for me. And I appreciate the invite. I appreciate your friendship, and thanks for being here too. So
my pleasure. Yeah. I have a similar philosophy in terms of, I think there's something to be learned from everyone you're going to trip across in your life. Hopefully it's something good that you want to emulate, or maybe it's something that you want to steer clear from. So I really try to use that in my life. And again, a lot of role models, including yourself. You're so dedicated to work and whatnot, and you're persistent in your goals and whatnot. So that's one thing that I look towards, like, okay, exactly, what can I learn from that person? So that's one thing. And in terms of living life to the fullest, like you were saying, is after coming back, I have amnesia from a little bit before the accident to about a couple of days later, and just going through all those surgeries and whatnot, and reading the notes that my mother and other people took, that, you're really dead for a bit and whatnot. So I kind of lived my life that I wouldn't want to say like every day is your last, but it very well might be. And so I wanted to do the things that, cross those things off your list and live life to this fullest without being careless. Like, I am a saver financially, whatnot, but also, when I bought the car that I wanted, the boat that I wanted, in case the next time I die, it's the final time. So, so I think there's a fine line between the responsibility of hoping you live forever, but also realizing that our time here is finite. So, and as I get older, I've seen people pass away that you're like, wow, that was too young. And you know what, it could happen at any time. So I kind of want to make sure that, not putting off that vacation, not putting off, calling that person, going and try something. I mean, you sort of broken a lot of bones over the years. I wanted to try skydiving. I was strapped to a guy shorter than I was. That was a little oversight on there. So, broke my leg that time, whatever else, but not a lot of regrets, to tell you the truth. Everything's a learning experience. And I'll try lots of crazy things once to cross it off the list, whether it's skydiving, bungee jumping, whatever else. Bit of a thrill seeker. So yeah, that's fun.
So, I'd probably have to have you on this podcast 10 times to really kind of have the audience really understand like how you live your life. But, and you just kind of gave one example about the skydiving, and you are 6'2" outside of the wheelchair.
6'1".
6'1".
Yeah. Well, last time I checked, who knows?
Yeah. And skydiving with a guy who's like 5'10".
Yeah, he was the most experienced guy, so they're bigging him up and yada yada yada. But at that moment when you would have pulled your legs up when you're hitting the ground, I kind of watched my foot bend back, and it's the first time I remember hearing a bone break. I've broken lots, but it's a definite snap. And we had hired the guy to do the DVD thing, and so the guy with my camera, what's one word to describe it? And I'm like, oh, it's great. Like, turn the effing camera off. I got a broken foot. But you know what? Then we went and ended up going to a soccer game with the people I was with. The one, I have to take the silver linings, couldn't feel the leg, so went and watched a soccer game and then went to ER. So yeah, it was an exciting day.
Oh my God. It's unbelievable, right? Like who would do that except for you, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
So if we could just backtrack a little bit. I didn't know you when the accident happened, and the difference, before, and then I'm assuming, but really this is a question, is, there had to be a bunch of transitions and reinventions of who Ryan is or who he's going to be down the road. What'd that whole process look like? And how'd you, overcome the adversity and the mind? Like, it's got to be a bit of a mind fuck to like go through something like that. I mean, I can't even imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, growing up, both my parents were in real estate, working all the time. I had a great childhood. I'm not going to throw them under the bus and call Oprah over that. But I mean, you know what? So parents were both working a lot, whatnot, and, had kids young. I have two sisters, one older, one younger. So I kind of, younger me thought that was the way you did things. By 20, I would be married and having, I think 3 is the good number for kids because you could still fit them in a nice car without having to go to minivan stage. So anyways, so my accident happened when I was 21, I guess. So that kind of cut that right in the middle. So things changed instantly. So you go from being in the ER and kind of confused at what's going on to having these doctors tell you the limitations that are going to be on your life. And I remember one story, the doctor's like, oh, you'll still be able to drive. They have these minivans and, they all outfitted for you. And like my parents were there and they seemed, happy about that, whatever else. And I looked at my dad and said, fuck that. I'm not driving a minivan ever. So, and not, what I have over the years, not really lovingly, but, I drove a Corvette for most of that time. And I was just really adamant that, okay, I'm going to find a chair that breaks down small enough. And I remember being at a opium nightclub down in Oshawa, and a guy pulled up in a convertible Corvette, and I went out and I'm like, weird question. I'm like, can I sit in the driver's seat and package the car, see if the chair fit in the trunk? It did. So I went out and bought that. But in terms of things changing, so after out of the ER, you go to a rehab hospital. So I went to, which was called Lyndhurst, now part of Toronto Rehab. So they're basically refocusing and teaching you how to, your goal in there is to learn how to live life in the wheelchair. So I broke my back at T6, which is kind of mid-chest region, and it's considered a complete. You have a bundle of nerves there, and most of them break completely. So in my situation, so it's no feeling and no movement. So I'm in the chair, unless I'm in bed or in the boat or on something else. But I mean, I'm not standing unless I'm I have a standing chair that helps. But anyways, to get back, so you get into Lyndhurst, and I had all my broken ribs, most of my metacarpals in my hands and foot, like boxer's fractures and whatnot from my accident. And then they said I'd be there a year, and I'm like, there's no way I want to be in a room. There's a quad room, so I'm in there with 3 other guys. The good thing is really humbles you. Like I was in the best shape of anyone in terms of the least broken stuff. There was a guy that slipped coming out of the shower, hit his head on the vanity, broke his neck, and like steered his wheelchair with his head. Help eating, help with everything, and that guy had a great attitude. So you know what? There's always somebody who has it worse, and in that instance, just maybe really appreciate what I could have left. And so I basically look to be okay. This is the hand that I'm dealt with. There's no time for looking back. What if I took a different road? What if I, did something else that day? So it was just like moving forward. What can I do? Any calorie that I burn, is going to be towards something good, never looking back. And so that's really what's really fueled me and still does is, learn from your mistake. Don't repeat it. But other than that, get rid of it. Like it's gone.
So was that a conscious decision for you, or was that like, where did you learn it? Did you have to manufacture that? Did somebody mentor you on it, or?
That's really tough to say. Like, I think, being an SOB, a son of a broker, my dad was in the business, we were always listening to, Anthony Robbins or Jim Rohn or whatever, when I was growing up, like literally cassettes in the car. So I think some of that mindset was already there, but I think this was mainly at the time bred out of necessity. Like I saw people who were living that what if life. They actually sent someone to mentor me into the hospital. And this guy, young guy, similar accident, and comes in and was basically, his advice is, stock up on pain pills and numb this away. And I'm like, that is not going to be my plan.
That's the guy they bring in to help you through this?
Unbelievable. I'm like, nope. I'm like, get this guy out of here. I'm like, this is not my plan. And then I met a realtor that we knew of a lot of similar friends. His name's John Ryan. He's out in Whistler. He's like the craziest successful realtor to this day. Anyways, he comes in, younger guy, still selling real estate, hot wife, going to have a family. And I'm like, if this guy can do it, I can do it. So I think it was just a combination of factors and then the conscious decision of never looking back and never what ifing things. Because I just don't think there's any positive thing that comes out of that. As I say, other than learning from your experience, not to repeat them, other than that, I have to move on. So I'm really quick, be it relationship wise, business wise, taking a wrong turn, kind of like Waze, reroute, go forward. What's the best route to get to where I want to go? And that's, a happy, successful life in terms of everything, business, relationships, what I want to do today, how I'm going to watch the sunset today. So it was, I think, a bit out of necessity and then a bit manufactured and practiced. And now it's just something that, I don't have to think about it. Every decision I make is kind of fueled by what's best going forward.
So 2 things I heard there was, 1, don't look into the past and kind of relive it, use it for experiences. But is there at any time were you kind of going, oh man, like, and the reason why I ask is, what was your strategy to pull yourself out of it? Because I think, anybody can sail a ship in calm waters. It's one of my 5 favorite sayings. Like, you see somebody doing something well, but it's like, hey, look, when the tide's in, all ships rise. But when things get tough, how do you bring it around?
Tough to say to pinpoint and whatnot. So I can't say that I'm invincible or every day is great. I mean, I have crappy days in terms of, just like everyone else. And sometimes having a body that only half listens to what you want to do, not sometimes, always amplifies it. And so there are times where, feeling down or whatever, but try not to ever feel sorry for myself. And again, thinking of people that have it worse, or I'm not the first guy to do this. I'm not reinventing the wheel. One thing that's great now is I'm a part of a bunch of Facebook groups and whatnot and trying to mentor new people. Even before social media, I'd always go back to the hospital and try to be like, hey, you know what? Call me. Someone has done this before, whatever else. So I just had the one guy, John Ryan, to call whatever else. And then over the years, you've met other people and just kind of lean on their experiences to make things easier. But I mean, I left the hospital, not they wanted me to sell a condo. I'm like, hey, I'm going to get out and get back to work, whatever else. So, and just to see the light, like, hey, you know what? I'm going to be in the gym every day. Cause I was 6'1" and I went down to about 115 pounds. So, I mean, it wasn't good. All my ribs are broken. And so the doctors tried to fill me full of painkillers, whatnot, to get rid of that pain. And then they'd be like, oh, down to the gym. And I'm like, those 2 don't really jive for me. Like my pain is my body telling me, don't work out your arm that day or whatever else. But I was out of the hospital, I think 5 months, whatever else. I checked myself out on the day before my birthday. I didn't want to spend the day in there. So when, it's just moving forward.
You checked yourself out the day before your birthday at 5 months, and they wanted you in there for a year.
Oh yeah, the doctor, bless her. I'm sure she thought she's doing the best for most people, but I refused all my pain meds from day one, and be like, you know what, if I need a Tylenol or something, I'll do that if I'm stationary and hurting. But otherwise, that's your body kind of telling you what you should be doing. So I'm like, hey, give me the list of things I'm going to be here, because I went and said I'm here for a year. I'm like, I don't see that happening. I said, what am I here to learn? So basically, to give you the list of skills and getting back to health that you need to do. And to me, I had completed that list by December 4th. So I said, I'm out of here. And she said, no, we're going to keep you, and hopefully we'll have you home for Christmas. So I packed my car and did a burnout and left. So
really,
I might still be checked into Lyndhurst. Who knows?
Never went back.
Go back there as an outpatient for some different things that, checkups over the years, whatever else. And, but mainly when I go back, it's to see someone will call me and be like, hey, Ryan, so-and-so got injured and could really use someone to talk to, whatever else. So, there's a mentorship program that they have, but, it failed me from the guy that told me to keep up with the pain meds and whatnot. Yeah, that wasn't, so I'll sneak in there, and there's a bunch of people that have become friends, whatever else, that, I'm like, hey, I've done this, there's a lot of questions you're going to have, and hopefully I can answer some or point in the right direction. So that's the main reason to go back for me.
And like, do you notice when you do go back and you're talking to people, identifying the ones where you go, okay, this guy's or this girl is going to make it, like they're going to do well. And then the other ones where you're like, oh man, they're going to have a struggle.
Yeah. You can definitely tell if it's going to be, and at that point it's mostly attitude. And you know what, I was fortunate to have a great support group, with friends coming in, and we would sneak off to the Keg Mansion every Tuesday or Wednesday. I forget which day, and go up all those stairs to, have a good night out, and just some sense of normalcy and getting out to socialize. I know a lot of people deal with, they feel their friends kind of abandoned them, whatever else. But a lot of it is, nowhere is really 100% accessible. So you've got to realize there's going to be some challenges. I mean, we've went down how many countless stairs as of all up and down stairs. And so there's stuff you got to do. And there's risks. I know people that won't go up anywhere that's not 100% accessible. And you're really going to limit your life that way. And hey, that's a choice to make. But yeah, I think the support group you'll see, and the attitude that they have to be like, yeah, either that person's going to get it or they're going to need more help to get it. And hopefully they have that epiphany earlier on rather than later, because there are some people that just turn into a shut-in. And you know what, it's I could easily see people going down that path, because it is a difficult path. Nobody would choose. I mean, one thing quite often is like, oh, you must know John Smith in the wheelchair. I'm like, if this was a club, nobody wanted to join it. So nobody wants in. But yeah, so I think it is pretty easy to recognize. And those people are great. You know what? Hey, here's my number. Call me if you need, or we want to get together, whatever else. And then there's the other people that like, you know what? Here's some resources that you might look into. I think really you need a few things when you suffer something life altering, no matter what it is you need to get back socially. You need a sense of purpose. So for me, it was going back to work. I love working and selling real estate. But if it's not work, then volunteer. What are your skills, whatever else. And so you're helping somebody else. I think that's important. And then something recreationally. So, I mean, yeah, you might not be able to go back and play football if that's what you did or whatever it is, but there's still, no matter what your ability is, there's something you can be doing. I mean, even the guy that steers his wheelchair with his head, like, something more mental or whatever else. So something just to, be a little competitive maybe, or, keep your mind active. So,
I mean, there's so many things that you said there to unwrap. I mean, there's attitude, there's accessibility, which I'd like to circle back on that. And then your key pieces there of, I think recreation, purpose for you, work, and then friends, like the sociability factor. It's like, I see, and this is not exclusive to, people who struggle with accessibility, but injuries or trauma, death, whatever it is, they start to go inward and shut themselves out from, the people that they love, and start to feel that, start to play a pity party. And it just cycles in a toilet bowl.
It does. It spirals. It spirals. I mean, and you could blame who was the first. Did your friends stop calling you, or maybe they feel awkward? I mean, they've got a lot of questions, and maybe they don't want to ask you all those questions about the death, the trauma, or accessibility in my case, or whatever else. So it takes a lot to, and you're putting yourself out there. Like, I mean, yeah, you know what? I've fallen out of the chair, you know, I've had strangers help me up, whatever else. So I know for a lot of people, it's like, that's a situation I don't want to be into. So what do? I don't leave the house, you know? And there are a lot of people, unfortunately, I think, fall into that trap. And I said, not just for accessibility, but I mean, when anything happens, a big change in your life. So I think you have to be open to rejection, to getting hurt, to putting yourself out there. And that's the case from anybody in life. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody really succeeds at anything without taking a couple of chances, high risk, high reward things. And I mean, relationships, friendships, business wise, whatever else. I mean, if you just want to be super safe and, you know what, have no surprises in your life, that's, you know, that's an avenue you can go to, but I don't think you'll really expand any portion of your life without, you know, some risk. So
just to circle back to, you know, because there's a lot of, like, you know, distinct words of wisdom in there. And I'm curious, you know, what would be the advice you'd give? Let's just take the example of you mentoring some people through, you know, a similar situation that you've been through, and you talked about their attitude is the kind of one thing that's like, that's the tell all of how difficult they're going to have for a journey moving forward. What do you say to people about, you know, like, how do you manage attitude? What would your advice be?
You know, I guess it all depends on the situation, but I think the first is to acknowledge, hey, you know, what happened? Like, you know, be comfortable at least talking to yourself about what happened, what led to it. A lot of people, the first thing, you know, people ask me is like, oh, was it your fault? Was it the other guy's fault? Whatever else in terms of my accident. I mean, I can tell them the story, but it wouldn't have mattered whether it was my fault, his fault, whatever else. You're in the situation you're at. So I think that harkens back to the don't look back. It was his fault, by the way.
Yeah. But it's like, but honestly, it's true. Yeah. Because so you can be pissed off at him, or you could be pissed off at yourself.
Yeah.
Being pissed off really
it's not going to work on things, right? So I think is to have that discussion firstly with yourself, or when I'm there to talk to someone. I think it's a little bit easier because you talk to your friends, you talk to your family, you talk to these doctors, and you're like, yeah, but you don't understand. You don't know the situation I'm in. And even I don't know that, like, if we have the exact same accident, we're going to have a different journey. I mean, you know, about everything. But at least I think people relate a little more. They see someone in there, you know, and you know what, quite often I'll take them outside and be like, here's how the car works. Here's how, you know, hand controls work, whatever else, to just give them something a little bit. But yeah, having that first discussion about what happened and what do you want to do? And here's some possibilities of people in your similar situation have done, to try to get that forward-looking thinking going, because you're stuck with a lot of time in the hospital by yourself, and thinking about, you know, and obviously I think it's natural to be like, I wish this didn't happen, and how could I have made it not happen? But try to get rid of that as quick as possible. So that's my first goal. And you know, I'm not there to blow sunshine up their ass either. Like, it's, you know, it's a rough go. You know, we go through good times and bad times, but just, hey, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. What are you interested in? And try to kick them down that road rather than a less fortunate road.
Right. Yeah. So avoid blame is kind of like,
it really doesn't matter. It's like arguing. Like, I don't really like arguing. I don't like raising my voice. I don't think it really helps, you know, your point. And even if you are right or wrong in an argument, whatever else, okay, where do we go from here? Like, we should have a common goal. If we're friends or in a relationship, romantic or otherwise, like, okay, something happened, something bad happened, something's broken. You know, what do we want to fix it? Yes or no? I think that's a first great spot. If it's unfixable, then let's rip off the Band-Aid. Hey, this has been good. Have a good day. If it is fixable, how do we get to that point? And let's not repeat however we broke whatever it was that's broken. But you know what? I think in any argument, there's a common goal, or you wouldn't be sitting across the table from that person. So there's something you both want to get accomplished. So how do you get to that rather than the blame or the argument phase of it?
Yeah. You talked earlier about purpose, and you found your purpose in work. And I think I'm very similar. Like I found my purpose in work. I find what I do, it's privilege. Like it's a privilege. Like I wake up every day going, I get to, rather than I have to, but not everybody's like that. And it's probably, arguably one of the I'll just say for me, I hear a lot of, motivational people who are, find your purpose, find your passion and make it your job and do all that kind of stuff. And it's like, but for the ones who don't feel like they have a purpose, how do you sort that?
Well, I guess I'll put like, yes, I found purpose in my work, but I don't look for fulfillment in my work per se. I think the fulfillment is probably a result of the work. So I wake up, I really enjoy my job. I love working with people. I love the turnover and that it's always new people. I mean, I see the same people I've been selling real estate for 7 years, I think right now. So you get to see the same people every couple of years, which is amazing, but it's always new. But also, I don't think you should look for happiness in your work. I don't think for me, that's not the goal. I work to afford myself the other stuff that I want to do. I love to travel. My thing is, which we'll probably chat about, is watching sunsets. That's my deal. So I try to take that hour off every day and do that. So, but I do enjoy my work, but I don't look for fulfillment in it in terms of what I want to get up and do every day. I think I'm happy with the results afterwards, and I love helping people. But it's kind of, I love my job, but I'd rather be boating.
Right.
So,
I have a job because it affords me to boat.
Yes, that's bingo. That's it.
Right.
So,
but it's an interesting concept because I think a lot of people go, wow, I haven't found my purpose yet. And it's like, well, maybe just start doing something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Move in that direction. See what you enjoy. Like, I mean, we've all got to work. I mean, I guess there are some people that don't, but I mean, look for something that you make the most of. And for some people, like I know people that work a factory job and they're happy with it. They love their coworkers. They like at 5 o'clock, they're checked out and they can be on to the next thing. And I know other people who more entrepreneurial spirit that they're happy to be, 24/7. Like I wake up thinking about work and I'm not mad about it. Like, I mean, I think that's a conscious choice to let that work be part of your life. And I know other realtors who are like, oh, I'm done at 9, whatever else. And everyone's got their own way to do it. And their clients, I'm sure, love it. And mine love a different thing. Most of my client relationships turn into friendships and whatnot. I don't mind getting a call in the middle of the night about that kind of stuff, but I'm circling around.
So my takeaway on that was you focus on what you do have. And you said it earlier, you focus on what you do have and not what you don't have. You focus and you celebrate every year, your smashiversary, because you're grateful for being alive, for what you have, where you're at, the life you've built, not, pissed off and angry because this happened to you 25 years ago. And
yeah, like you can't say that. I mean, if I had a time machine, it'd probably be the one thing that you change, obviously. But I mean, also, I don't even think about it. Like it's, every day, like there's a struggle that'd be like, hey, yes, that'd be easier if I was walking or if this, that, and the other thing. But it doesn't really even come into my thought process anymore. Whatever that obstacle is in front of me, I just want to, okay, how do we either get over that obstacle or avoid that obstacle? Like there's some things, would love to do the CN Tower climb. I'm not going to do the CN Tower climb, both from me and the person who helped me up all those stairs. But I mean, there's just choices that you can make to not focus on like, would I really do the CN Tower climb? I have no idea. It seems like a cool thing, but so there's other things that you can just avoid, and there's tons of great choices to make instead of focusing on, oh, I wish I could do that. Well, what else can I do other than that? And not to dismiss if someone has a dream or a real want to do something, then obviously try to do it. But if it's unrealistic, or what are you going to get at the end of that? So to me, if I'm going upstairs, like, I mean, I come over here to have dinner. We're going to go up some stairs. That's worth it for me. It's a couple of stairs. It's a couple of moments and we're there. But there's other things that, even in my day to day, like I'll choose a restaurant. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, you know what? I like it. like downtown Toronto, there's so many other options. I'm like, you know what? I don't need to go up those stairs. So, yeah, kind of make a choice of is the juice worth the squeeze kind of thing on everything. So,
Mm-hmm. So when we were talking about earlier, which was the purpose and then work and that correlation, and as it relates to, you know, finding and always looking at the upside versus the downside. And, you know, when people, whether they're people who feel like they're young people trying to carve a path and figure out what to do next, or people who are potentially stuck in something that they don't want to be in. And from a career standpoint, it's really about really focusing on, hey, what's good about this rather than what's shitty about it and what I don't like. And then pursuing and moving forward through that, what you do like, and then making moves to improve where you're at.
yeah, I'm a big fan of the saying, you'll sit on a tack until it hurts. So be it the relationship you're in there for a little bit too long because it's comfortable, whatever else, or a job that you're at because you feel trapped. I mean, like, let's take the job thing, for instance. Like, a lot of people can't be like, hey, I'm going to quit my job and find something that I enjoy. Well, in the meantime, you're probably going to go broke. And, you know, a lot of people don't have, you know, months worth of savings to blow while they're looking for something fulfilling or whatnot. So I think you got to temper that a little bit to be like, yeah, what do I enjoy about the job? What's good? Is there ways I can improve it? You know, either by myself or with the employer or the people we work with, or should I be out looking? Should I be taking courses? I'm a big fan of learning. Like, I mean, I just finished taking another wine course. I enjoy wine. I enjoy learning about it, but I also enjoy taking business courses, and some of them are for strictly for the job, or something maybe for the next thing I'm thinking about doing. Like, how is this going to broaden my horizons, or even just have better conversations, like understand what someone else is doing in their work and having a cool conversation about that. So I think learning and growing, but yeah, so you have to do what you're doing to pay your bills or to be in a relationship, whatever else, and you can improve on that. But at some point, sometimes it's okay, this tack hurts enough, I'm going to get off and, you know, quit my job. And hear some tremendous stories about people leaving like a great job and, you know, risking everything to go do an adventure. You hear about the great ones. I'm sure there's a lot of, yeah, I'm sure there's for every one great story like that, there's probably 9 guys that, you know, went broke and had to restart. But I mean, kudos to everyone that takes those risks, because you know what, yeah, if you take those risks, it's good or bad things can happen, and that's the part of risk. So,
but I also think, though, I mean, you can obviously create strategies that are going to reduce the risk, and as you said, take courses along the way to help you, you know, rather than just, hey, I'm just going to quit where I'm at, which happens a lot nowadays, and then I'll figure it out, and that's all they do is just quit, and then trying to look for something that's right or perfect versus sticking with something, educate yourself, train yourself, go to the next level, whether it's wherever you're at, maybe it's a lateral jump, maybe it's a forward move where you're at, and then try to improve your situation or your environment, you know, once you've gathered some education, but it requires work.
Yeah, for sure. And like, there's 24 hours in a day, and I don't care how hard anyone works, there's extra time to be had. So if you don't have time to work out, I will find you some examples of people that found time to work out. I know I'd like to be more active in the gym, whatnot. And that's just, I'm prioritizing things that everyone does that. Someone says, oh, I can't afford to do this. Well, and a lot of times you choose not to afford to do that. You can look at anyone, and it's easy to look from the outside to be like, hey, Dwayne, we could reallocate the money you're spending on X and put it over to Y, and you could afford that, but you're choosing not to. So I think it's smart to maybe get some help and look at those things. And also with your time, I mean, if there's no time to learn something else, then, you know, okay, what are you doing with all of your time? And as I said, it's way easier to fix someone else's problem than to look at it internally. So I kind of want to talk to people and be like, hey, how can you help me? You know, be a coach or whatnot, how can you help me get to, this is where I want to go to? So I agree. I'm way too afraid to quit something before I kind of have the plan to go forward. You know, and I think that's a good quality and a bad quality sometimes. You know, I love what I do. It constantly evolves in terms of like just for the real estate side of things. Like I grew up in Whitby, so I started there a lot, and then had a place downtown for 20 plus years, and now I love selling real estate up here. But I kind of got all three going, and it helps because one of them is dead. During COVID, nobody bought condos for a long time, and I know people that just focused on that. So I was happy I branched out like that. But
so you could sell cottages and stuff because people were buying them like crazy.
Yeah, people would want to move out of town, and now that market's kind of cooled off, and the city's hot again. But yeah, so I for one would be way too afraid to be like, hey, I'm going to stop working today, and then I'm going to find out what I really enjoy. I'm sure there will be a time, quasi retirement, when I'm like, okay, let's hang that up and let's do something else, and maybe not have to have that the plan as clear as it is. But like right now, I'm like, okay, this is what I have to do, and as I said, thankfully, I enjoy it. But yeah.
So this may be a personal question, and I'm curious, why have you, like, I mean, I know your life. I know the things you've done, and we'll get into it here because the stories are they're wild what you've done. Like, but have you ever thought of getting on stage and speaking, or
definitely
coaching, or like?
Definitely thought about it, and lots of pressure from others who are like, hey, there's a story that has to be told, and you know what? I don't know if it's the fear or what it is and not getting on stage. Like, I'm super happy to talk to whoever about whatever. I mean, I had no idea what today's format was. We just kind of be like, hey, let's get together. And I'm like, hey, let's do it. And everyone's like, well, what are you guys going to talk about? I'm like, I don't know. And it doesn't really matter to me.
Neither did I.
Yeah. You know what? If it gets bad enough, one of us will get out of this room. So, what can you do? But,
right.
Sorry, I blanked out on that one.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious. What?
About getting on stage and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think that would be something in the next couple of years that I'm going to look more serious about. I've actually started jotting down some thoughts and some things that I want to pass on in a situation like that, because I've seen some really powerful speakers over the years. Being in real estate, a lot of our events are rah rah rah, and get to work, and really motivational stuff. But I think there's a lot of speakers too that not about real estate, just about life lessons or whatever else. And just, I think there's a lot of power to be learning from someone else's mistakes or their successes. That I think we're in a time where, podcasts, social media, whatever else, like, why not gobble all that up? Like, why do I have to go out every day and figure out what's wrong or what's right with my life when I can take some time, listen to some podcasts, or even better, go try to meet some of those people in real life, and find out what worked and try to learn from that. Like, there's a coach about 5 years ago, whatever else, I was really getting burnt out, and I was downtown at Toronto at the time, and I was talking to somebody, said, you know what, it's really starting to wear on me. Like, I love the job, but you know what, I'm kind of like, why am I pounding my head against the wall? For what? So after some discussion, they're like, well, okay, so you're going to retire, you're going to hang it all up. What does that look like? Well, I'd be eating the nice cat food, not the the canned stuff, not the kibble. But it could happen in terms of finances. And then he said, no, what does it look like? Why? What would you be doing? And I said, well, I go boating every day. And that's kind of my answer for a lot of things. And he said, well, that's cool. So the conversation went on a little bit, and he's like, where are you now? I said, I'm downtown Toronto, and because we were on the phone. He said, where's your boat? I said, well, it's up on Balsam Lake, about an hour and a half away. He goes, well, it's 10 o'clock. Can you make it there now? I said, yeah, I can make it there. He goes, well, I want you to go boating every day from now until when you can't boat. So up here, it's the ice freezing, or everyone takes their boats out a little before that. I'm usually the guy chipping my boat out.
You're always the guy chipping out your boat.
Yeah. So I left downtown, drove up here, got here around 11:30, grabbed my dog. We hopped on the boat, went for a little ride. And then that was mid-July. I think I boated for 109 days in a row that year, which was, if it was raining, I'm going boating. If it was 11:59, I'm going boating, whatever else. Because I just kind of made that commitment to my buddy who is a coach. And you know what? By the end of it, I had seen, 80 sunsets probably, which I really enjoy. I really find that resets me. I'm out on the boat a lot. I was with my dog a lot. So at the end of it, I found the why. I had the most successful year of my career in terms of production that year. And it's been consistently good since then. And I don't feel burdened or overworked at all anymore, because I think I have my why already. Like I just know that take some time, and to know that, you know what, you can grab the time before. Like sometimes I wouldn't take that hour off, whatever else. I'm not saying I turn the phone off and shut everything down, but I do like to try to get out and watch the sunset if I'm up here, and kind of just appreciate the things and look at nature a little bit. And yeah.
What do you think it was then that got you into the burnout stage? Like, was it a story you were telling yourself, or was it a sequence of events, or?
I think a lot of it is in a lot of jobs where you work for yourself, every day's a job interview. So, you know what, you're as good as your last paycheck, yada, yada, yada. So once you finish, like I had a deal close last week. So the person's in their house. It's a big, it probably is their forever house. I hear that a lot. Oh, we're never moving. And then 4 years later, they call me to move. But this particular lady, I think she's really in a place that, you know what, she could grow old in and whatnot. And it's a spectacular place on some acreage or whatever else. So that was really fulfilling. And to get that call, like, hey, I'm home. And, she just got her keys. It's still an empty house, whatever else, but I'm home. And she just told me about that. So that was pretty cool. But okay. And then I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Like, thankfully I have other deals on the go, whatever else, but it's, and I'm not one for billboards. I'm not one for cold calling. I don't do a lot of advertising to attract business. Thankfully, after this many years, it's mostly repeat and referral. And I like that because it's a warm conversation to be having. Like, okay, you know what, DK referred you, so I've got to do a good job for the new client and also for DK, because he stuck his head out and said, okay, you should use Ryan for this particular task. So I think it was the worrying about, is that going to continue? You know what, a lot of other realtors have a business model where, okay, if you make 100 calls, you'll get, 10 people to answer, and what, 3 will say they want to do something in real estate and 1 will do something. So it's kind of a predictable set of events. I'm just not that guy. I'm don't want to say I'm winging it. I'm just more of a sphere of influence, and go out and okay, how can I provide a benefit to this person? And, and then relay that benefit of why should they use me? So it's, I think I was worried about that for a little bit, and yeah, just focusing too much on the, maybe the mechanics of doing the job rather than just going out and do the job. So, as I said, I really enjoy the parts, like doing the job and dealing with people, whatever else. So I guess it was worry, and not taking the time to enjoy. Like when I go on vacation, I take the phone, I take the computer, and it's kind of like I'm working from Mexico instead. So I actually took my first kind of vacation where that wasn't the case. I went to Italy last year, and just kind of, I know there's a huge deal that was going to happen during that time. And usually I just would have canceled the vacation. I've been like, hey, you know what? I'm committed. Here's a big job and a big paycheck, to be honest. So I'm like, hey, well, I can go to Italy at a different time. But it was important for me to go at that time for a bunch of reasons. So I went, I referred that deal up to someone else. Someone else can deal with it. My clients were happy. Obviously, the other agent was happy, and I was happy. I got to, go to Italy, stay at an unbelievable vineyard that a friend of mine owns, and just take some time and connect with some friends. And it was really important. So I think that was the one thing I didn't allow myself to do before that burnout. It was kind of like, take some time for you and realize that I don't need to do every deal that comes across my plate. Firing a client is important once in a while.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that's the best feeling in the world. Someone that doesn't appreciate my time, or that we're not working well together. You can't just worry about that paycheck and that deal to go together, because I think you're losing out on a lot of other things. You're probably ruining your attitude and your attraction to other good things by having that negative energy around. So, yeah, I've learned to do that, to be like, hey, I'm going to work with people who I enjoy working with, who we appreciate each other on the job and off the job. And so that's made a big difference, is kind of, realizing that I don't have to deal with everyone that calls me.
Right. You boated for 108 days or 109 days, I think you said,
somewhere around
80,
there, yeah.
80 sunsets. And you talked about sunsets earlier. So is it the boating or is it the sunsets?
I guess it's a bit of both. I can't see the sunset from my place, so I've got to do about a 30-second boat ride or 2 minutes or whatever up the point to see it. There's just something beautiful about, and actually just after sunset, so whether it's twilight or whatever you call it, once the sun just disappears under the horizon, just all those colors, I just kind of find it fascinating. And to, feel small in the world, you can be like, wow, like look at all of this. And At the same time, like last night, for instance, was a super moon. It was the sturgeon moon last night, which was unbelievable. So a big harvest moon coming up over the horizon, and yeah, just to see the kind of wonderment of huge things going on that are beyond your control, and you just realize that everything happens, and like what, if I wasn't here, this was still happening. So yeah,
it's true. Actually, obviously, listeners are probably garnering that we have places on the same lake. We were out last night on the boat, and the moon was unbelievable. But you're right. It's and it's kind of one of the things that I've been in the last few years, started to do is, it's humbling when for you, it's the sunsets and the twilight. Sometimes for me, we were out. We had a camp or a fire, and had a friend up with his son, and we were out, roasting some marshmallows and stuff, and the stars started to come out, and it's like you just look at the stars and you go, wow, like how small am I?
yeah,
And we often try to make ourselves probably bigger than we are, and I'm certainly learning over the last few years that that's not the case, and not to make myself inconsequential or insignificant, but in the grand scheme of the universe, we look down at an ant and think, oh, how small. Well, we're not even that ant to the universe. And it's, there's
sure.
things happening here that are, way beyond our control. And it's a humbling, kind of puts you in the place where you're like, okay.
Yep. And on top of sunset, so you're asking sunsets versus boating, like, yeah, to me, there's something about being on the water, and I don't care if it's in the water, on a paddleboard, on a log, if I could sit on one without falling off of it. There's something just, I find really calming about that. So, and I don't care, like it could be a river, it could be, if I'm lucky enough to be looking at the ocean or be in the ocean, that's great too. But to me, there's just something about floating that's amazing. So yeah, I love to, when my shoulders are feeling healthy enough, be out on the paddleboard or, kayak or whatever else, and getting out there and every different one of those things too. Boating is great, but paddleboarding and kayaking is great because you can get so much closer to nature and all this stuff by being, almost at one with it. So yeah, those two things are important to me. And the stars, yeah, like coming up the next couple of weeks, all the meteors should be kind of showers should be out. We'll see a lot of shooting stars. That's what's nice about being out of the city. So, I think that around the second week of August, everything starts to usually start on an annual basis. So yeah, I'll be spending hopefully some time looking up at the sky. And I know there's a lot of Starlink satellites up there throwing us off right now, but
there's nothing better than being out in the water with a solid vodka. But
also true.
So I'm curious, if you were to do, up to this point, do it all over again, what would you change?
Tough to say. What would I change? I guess trying to learn that lesson of taking a little more me time and appreciating it and not feeling guilty about that. I think that would be probably the first thing. Maybe not drive motorcycles. That's funny story.
But
yeah, that we can get into.
Yeah,
I drove one afterwards, but I guess, but not a lot to change, to tell you the truth. Like, I think I'm really fortunate to have met lots of great people over the years, been able to travel a little bit and hopefully more in the future. So yeah, there's not a ton of stuff to change. Obviously if I were to sit down and tinker things, for sure, but that's not the way life works. Like, and a bad thing today could be a great thing tomorrow. Like, I don't know the person I would be if I didn't have my accident. I don't know that I would be as appreciative of, of people, of time, of experiences. Because I've seen a lot of people that, have an easy road, that are just kind of taking everything for granted. I've got a lot of, things that I've learned along the way. And one is like someone had coined the term temporarily able-bodied. So when, you see someone going up and down stairs, and they're fine, whatever else, and they're taking it for granted, or they're kind of shunning accessibility because it's not important to them at the time. And I had somebody say, well, enjoy being temporarily able-bodied. You know what? Sooner or later, most people are going to have some sort of disability in terms of, whether it's being in a wheelchair or breaking your leg and doing, what's temporarily or not. But I mean, there'll be a time when you wish you didn't take some of that stuff for granted. So I've been taking a lot of courses. One was a Rick Hansen course lately about accessibility. And like, to me, I thought I know a lot about accessibility. I don't know anything about accessibility in the big scheme of things, like people with vision problems, people with hearing problems, people with different cognitive disabilities, whatever else. You really, everyone is having their own journey. Mine is a very visible disability. A lot of them are invisible, but just learning that, how can we make things more accessible to everyone? And that's, as I said, not just eliminating stairs, whatever else, but just, because that's just one thing that I knew about. And to tell you the truth, I knew nothing about wheelchairs. I didn't even think I knew anyone in a wheelchair before myself. And I probably related wheelchairs with mental disability as well, because that's what I'd been experienced. That's what I've been exposed to. So yeah, it's been a learning journey for sure.
So two things there. Like one, when you talked about like, what would you do different? And you said you wouldn't maybe have the perspective or the appreciation or the gratitude for the things that you have in your life. It's like literally gave me goosebumps. And so I think you live that. And I do really want to we have to get into some stories here because it'll give perspective to, your frame of the world or your picture of the world and how you've kind of addressed this. But you brought up accessibility. I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear the perspective. I'd love to hear the learnings, because some of the things you just said there, it's true. We've been in the restaurant business for 24 years, 25 years. Obviously accessibility is a thing, but when you said that, instantly in my mind, I was like, my exposure or my mindset around accessibility is wheelchair accessibility, but there's so much more. Yeah. And I'm completely, I'll admit, I'm, not as knowledgeable as I should be. But you could probably call me blind to it, I guess. I'm not totally blind to it, but
yeah, for sure. This was a real eye opener. This last set of courses we took. And, it really highlights on, and people, you only focus on what's in your world. Right. And I mean, for a lot of times, that, thankfully isn't about, vision disability, mental disability or physical disability. So thankfully that's not the case, but I think it's important and I know as the province, they're trying whatever else, and, won't get into leaving anything to the government to get done. But I mean, I think their goal was to have the province accessible by 2025, which obviously is an impossibility, but I think it's cool people are having the conversations. And I mean, yeah, in terms of restaurants and when we're building going forward, it's so much easier to have things inclusive with universal design. So kind of making this entrance, this restaurant, this bathroom, whatever the case is, just good for everybody. So there doesn't have to be a wheelchair stall, or, I mean, now even when we're speaking about genders and all that stuff, like, why don't we just build a bunch of bathrooms? Like, it doesn't cost that much more to be here's a room with a bathroom and a sink, whatever else. And yes, maybe some need to be larger for, for someone who's in a power chair or has needs to take somebody in there, like a caregiver, whatnot. But we could make things a lot easier, just by, not just going to building code, not doing this, but actually thinking about, okay, what can, and even as a business, if you just go, it's a pure profit taking motive, like, how can I make this the best for the greatest number of people? So the greatest number of people that are going to come to my restaurant have a good experience altogether. So just having those thoughts, and maybe instead of just building code or, I think the engineers, the architects and whatnot, just to have them all in a good mindset of building things for as many people as possible would be swell.
Yeah. I mean, from an architecture and building standpoint, I have a little bit of knowledge, but not probably enough. But it's like, I think to your point about customer service experience, it's just the experience of not going into a washroom with, 3 or 4 other people, having an individual washroom is like, that's my thing. Like, if I'd much rather have that.
You know what? I've been in construction a lot, whatever, and I can't see that being such a big issue, just to be like, okay, yeah, let's do this. I mean, Obviously, if you're redoing things and what you're renovating, that's a tougher one. But if you're building new space, it's not difficult. You know what I mean, to get that done. So I think if they start from the get go, and I'm not for one, we're not going to make the world accessible, and I don't want to tear down a heritage building to put up a new building that's all accessible. I mean, there's lots of great history that should be preserved. And I live downtown. There's a lot of buildings that just, the bathrooms are downstairs at this restaurant, and it's just not feasible to be that. As long as I know that going into it, plan ahead, don't drink the beer, whatnot. So I'm prepared for it, or go to a different one. But I think just moving forward is important to have those discussions and have those thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, in the real scope of the world, it's impossible to make everything, as accessible as probably everybody would like it to be, because I mean, restaurants is a good example. I mean, you can't find a business that fails more often than the restaurant business. Like that is the number one failing business. It always seems to be the number one business people kind of want to get into, because they're like, oh, I like food, I like wine, I should own a restaurant. Okay.
I've done that. It's more fun to be on the other side.
Yeah, right.
It's more fun to be a customer.
Right. And so, but yeah, like, firsthand, owning a restaurant and, just turning around and, renovating your place to be fully accessible is just completely outside
it's an impossibility. I mean, you're working with margins. I mean, everybody likes to think, that's a really glamorous job. But I mean, in Ontario, for instance, a lot of restaurants, depending on the style or whatnot, you're fighting for, 3 to 6% margins. You look at Visa charges, they get 3% just for running your card. So, I mean, and as a restaurant owner, you've got to be, okay, how many people are showing up today? How much I got a staff in case there's lots of people. I've got to have all these, machines running. I've got to have all of these ingredients here in case, and then maybe nobody shows up. So you have that. So there's just not, okay, here's $100,000 to, renovate the place. It just, that would cripple most business in terms of, having that done. So you have to make things that are feasible. So as I said, new build's great. Or there's simple things, but for instance, there was a restaurant in Toronto that wanted to put this ramp out front, but they can't because it was extending onto the sidewalk. So the city made them take this ramp out, because it didn't fit building code, whatever else. And I went there, and it was people were going around it, whatever else, and, paint the strip yellow so no one trips over it, whatever else. But this owner was trying to make the place, as good as he could. And then red tape got involved. The same red tape, which was probably invented to do something great. Thankfully, I think during COVID, if we could take one of the silver linings out of it, they, eliminated most of the sidewalks and had sidewalk cafes and whatever else. And it still worked. Like, people had less room to pass. And I mean, I'm in a wheelchair, so I need more space on the sidewalk. So I can totally appreciate not, putting things on the sidewalk for the sake of nothing. But for adding accessibility, or, I love patios. So even for me, adding a patio to a place that didn't have one before, great. Like, let's figure out a way to make it work. And sometimes we have to take a lot of that red tape that was there, for a reason, to be like, okay, is there a reason that we should have an obstruction on this sidewalk? Yes. Well, then let's talk about it, and let's, eliminate the red tape for the small business owner to A, continue the business, and B, serve more people.
Yeah. And to your point, it's a huge accessibility factor too, right? Like, now, instead of having to go into a restaurant, you can be outside.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times, especially downtown, like, the patios are on the sidewalk, so they're almost all accessible.
And they're still doing that?
Yeah. I think there's, I don't know if it's Cafe TO or whatever, the program that's currently running, whatever else, but they definitely have loosened up on those, on the bylaws on people allowing to use that, or, parking lots or whatnot. They don't grab a couple parking spaces. And I think a lot of the AGCO rules too, I mean, during for the alcohol sales were loosened, so you could buy a bottle of wine at the restaurant and take it home. You could almost any licensee place could cork what you didn't buy, but I don't think you could go in and say, I want to buy that bottle of wine and take that home. Or they loosened up on that, whatever else, which I think they needed to. Like, I mean, I think we're a little too governed in terms of a lot of other places in the world, you could walk down the street and have a beer. And I know there's some parks that they're just deciding to do that too in Toronto now. I mean, I think there's a lot more trouble that you can get into than doing that. And I mean, I think there's risk with a lot of things. And yes, you don't want people intoxicated walking around everywhere, and especially if there's families and whatnot walking down the street. But I think for the most part, people know how to act and realize that it doesn't mean to go get wasted on the street. But if you want to walk around and have a glass of wine when you're walking your dog, like, hey, I'm for it. Go for it.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's people who are going to walk around wasted are going to walk around wasted.
Yeah,
regardless, right?
They weren't following those rules to begin with.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, but I think it's interesting. I think the, legalization of pot, I'm not a pot smoker, because I'm anti-pot. It's not me. It's just, I don't really enjoy it. I'd rather have a few glasses of wine or some old fashioned or some scotch or whatever, or all
I'm
of
totally
it.
with you.
But
I love it that it is now legal. I mean, I've got a lot of friends, and to tell you the truth, during that whole push for legality, I thought, this is my pothead friends, and medicinal, being in somewhere where a lot of people deal with chronic pain and whatnot. Thankfully, I think I've figured out how to tune it out, chronic pain, to know between this is something that, acute pain, your body's saying, okay, deal with that, whatever else. But chronic pain, I've been able to tune most of it out. But there are a lot of people that I know that are on pain meds all the time. And if they can help that with cannabis, I think amazing. I think any time you can consume anything or ingest anything closer to how it came out of the earth, I think that's really important. So, hey, if you can deal with your pain through cannabis, amazing. Or if you want to use it recreational,
well, and that was kind of my point. It's like, we legalize pot, and it's everybody, I think a lot of people, and I wouldn't say that. I mean, I don't think I thought this, but it was like, this is going to be interesting. Like, productivity going to go down. People are going to be wasted all the time. They're going to be walking around and sure, you smell it and all that, but it's not like I don't think it's changed anybody's life. So my point is we could become a little looser in some of our, municipal laws about drinking on the street or whatever.
Anything. I'm a strong one to say we are overgoverned, especially in Ontario, Canada in general, I think. And during COVID, I think that happened a little, I don't want to I don't like to talk politics because, again, it's not something that you usually could do unless you want to go make a change. I mean, arguing about it doesn't make a difference, but I think we're overgoverned, and I think people were going to make the same decisions. As you said, like the ones who were going to drink and get drunk in the street before are still going to do it now, and vice versa. But yeah, other than, in terms of cannabis, when you're walking around, you smell it more frequently, but I think the same number of people are probably still doing it. I mean, if anything, I know some more of, I hate to call them older people because the age I am, I thought I was ancient, a couple of years ago. So, but I think those people are trying something that, was, the gateway to hell. It was a gateway drug. And once you try this, you're on to LSD and all the next things. I think that's probably not the case. I don't think so, but I haven't seen a huge change in the world since pot became legal. I mean, zero change, to tell you the truth.
Yep. No, me too. Speaking about drunk in the streets, let's talk about some of the stories. We have had some drunk in the street stories.
Where's the mute button?
We talked briefly about one there, which was the motorbike. So
let's go down some of these paths. I've led an exciting life, and if something's out there to be tried, I'm trying it. So, as I said, I had a motorbike accident, but I used to enjoy going to the track and going to Mossport and racing around there. And to tell you the truth, if I were to go back, if I was going to go back, I would still have a motorcycle. I would probably ride it on the track exclusively. Ontario is a short summer. We've all cut off a motorcycle because you're just not trained to look for them. So, I mean, I've done it. You've done it. Everyone's done it. You just, thankfully, in my, it hasn't been like my case where I'm right there, because apparently the first thing out of the guy that pulled out in front of me was, I didn't even see you, and it happens. And it's, so, you know what, was he doing anything? And thankfully this was pre-texting that I used to ride. Cell phones were pretty new. I think I had a ClearNet phone strapped to my belt at the time. And I mean, you could send a text, but it took you a long time. You definitely weren't doing it while you're driving.
Right.
So
you were AABB.
No, before that even. I think there's a little scrolly thing or whatever. But right now, I think there's way too many distractions. To be on the road. So I would still ride a bike. I would do it on the track. But anyways, so after my accident, always had a fascination with motorcycles. I mean, for those people that have ridden, and especially more if you've been on a track or if you've ridden aggressively, it a crazy feeling about leaning over to where, some of your body parts are touching the ground, and why doesn't this slide out? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's a very cool feeling. So I wanted to do it again. And I think it was about beating the accident kind of for me. So I had seen somebody that had basically training wheels on their motorcycle that would come down. So when you put your feet down to stop, they'd have these little wheels that came down and hold the bike up. Because other than that, I mean, I don't have a lot of core strength, but I mean, great upper body strength, whatever else. So I was able to muscle a bike, but it was like, yeah, okay, when it comes time to stop, I mean, the bike would just fall over. I didn't need to try this to figure that out. I just, thought about it a little bit. So
laws of physics made it pretty obvious.
I'm like, that's what would happen. So contacted this guy in the States, and, after a couple of years was able to piece together this kit. And there was a guy in Whitby that ran a bike shop that helped me throw things together. And then, so we finally got this bike, same bike as I had my accident on, but like 20 years newer, or not, about 10 years newer, or whatever else.
It was a 600, wasn't it? Yamaha 600? Yeah.
ZX6 Cowie.
Cowie.
So anyways, beautiful bike. So we chopped it apart, put these training wheels on it. And then I was down in the south, like industrial part of Whitby. And my friend Tammy, who like races bikes, so she came because I'm like, okay, you need to try this bike out for me, but to see if it's going to work. But of course I'm like, hey, stop putting your foot down. She's like, it's instinctive. I'm like, I know. But I'm like, I don't have that option. The whole thing about this is to see what would. And, she's in great shape and a great rider. So, I mean, if the bike went down, she's not going to get hurt, whatnot. And we're going, slow speeds at a bike. Anyone can ride a bike fast. Riding a bike slow is difficult. So finally we got her to like, okay, stop the bike without putting a foot down. These things came down. I was driving my vet beside her, like on the street, just to see it work. And we're like, okay. So we finally got up the confidence that, okay, the thing works. Let's put me on it and try it. So then I'm get on this bike and, Velcroed on with these straps and whatever else. And, got on the bike, and yeah, it worked. And yeah, I dropped it a couple of times too. Like, hey, you know what? In gravel, those little wheels don't work that well. We need bigger wheels. So a little bit of a learning curve, but yeah, I drove it up here. I remember going to the patty house and, stopping and seeing the guys that owned that. And oh my God.
Did we ride? I think you either rode it over to wherever I lived at the time, or did we ride together?
I think we did. Yeah.
We did ride once on.
I forget what you were riding. If you had I don't think you had your Boulevard at that time, but
no, it might've been a Ducati or I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
I had so many,
but yeah, so I rode it a bit. And it never did take it back on the track. But it just didn't have the same, like, I mean, I couldn't bring my chair with me. It was a little sport bike. So, I mean, now there's, what ways you could strap your chair to the back, whatever else, but it was just kind of like, yeah, I would go out, go for a nice ride, whatever, and get that feeling again. But I only rode up north. I only rode at the city once, and I'm like, this is ridiculous, because I forget what year that would be. But yeah, more people paying less attention, and I'm like, this is just a bad recipe. So ended up selling the bike. Someone stripped it apart and put it back to being a regular ZX6. But yeah, it was a thing. The worst part is that I had to call my mom on that one. So
how'd that go?
It actually went great. My mom's one of my greatest supporters and one of my best friends. She's my mom.
She's awesome.
Half the time I'm invited for dinner, I'm bringing my mom. So, and she's younger than half my friends. I mean, in terms of the way she lives her life, energy,
she's awesome.
Her sense of purpose and her drive for work. Right. So it's pretty crazy. So anyways, I had to call her and I said, Mom, I'm thinking about getting another motorcycle. There was a long pause for sure. And then I explained, what the plan was, whatever else. And she said, hey, if that's what you got to do, and not kind of flippantly. She didn't like, wasn't like, screw you, go do it. But yeah, go do it. And so, yeah, I did it. But yeah, it was just kind of, I did it. And then, not practical. So moved on. And, one thing I always, ongoing in my life right now, I'm great at buying, things, toys, whatever, be it a seat or a bike or a car, whatever else. But you get to a point where you're like, you only have one butt. And too many seats to sit it in. And the bike wasn't a thing that was going to be a long-term thing. So got rid of it. And I'd rather be boating.
Yeah.
It's similar weather, right? I mean, I had a convertible that I had that 1970 Wildcat, whatever else, great car, but the same weather I could be doing that, I could be boating. And I'm like, you know what, got rid of that and focus on the things that you enjoy. And yeah. So that was that's one of those stupid stories, like the guy in a wheelchair riding a motorcycle. So,
yeah, I mean, I remember when you did it and there was, some people were like, oh my God, that's awesome. Which I was in that camp. I'm like, this is amazing.
There was another camp.
And I was like, who the fuck does this? But there was another camp that was like, the naysayers who are, I mean, maybe less risk adverse and always, but
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I remember my grandmother talking to one of my nieces, and I forget what had happened, but I got injured, some minor injury over the course of the years post accident. And my grandma was like, "Oh, I don't know why Ryan's doing that, whatever else." And my niece, and I think she'd definitely be way under 10. She might have been about 5 at the time. And she just kind of looked at my grandma and said, "Well, if he sat at home on the couch all day, he'd never get hurt, like kind of tell her, like, you got to go out and live life." And I'm a strong, and like, I realize the risk in most things I'm doing, be it the riding the bike or bungee jumping, skydiving, whatever else. There's a risk in a lot. I mean, there's a risk transferring. A lot of people just get hurt. I mean, I have got hurt just like, getting out of bed, going into the wheelchair. You know what? That is a risk, but I mean, okay, the if you don't do it, you're bedridden. So there's inherent risk in a lot of things. And yeah, again, back to, is this worth the risk? And for that, it was,
A quick bike story with mothers. So my mom was, I get a bike. So when I first got my license, and I don't know how old I am, 18, whatever, I get my motorcycle license. I buy a little FZR 600. Awesome bike. Love it to this day. It was one of my faves. But my parents are coming down to visit me. I'm young. I'm still like in college, I think. And, still being supported by mom and dad at some level. I think I was working actually, maybe by then. I don't know. Anyways, I call up a buddy of mine. I'm like, "Hey man, I got to put my bike in your garage." He's like, "Okay, what's up?" I'm like, "My parents are coming to see me." He's like, "Oh, okay, got it." So they come down to visit. We're sitting in our driveway. That I come out. "Hey, how you doing?" Da, da, da. Neighbor happens to be outside with his daughter, 3-4 years old or whatever. And guy drives by in a motorcycle, and the daughter looks and goes, "Dwayne, bike." And right away, my mom was like, she just kind of looks at me and she's like, "I need a dress." She hated it. She absolutely hated me being on a bike. But, and turns out like our whole family rides. My sister rides, my brother-in-law rides, my nieces ride, my wife rides. Like we all.
Yeah, no, there's until you ride a bike. And I mean, but even riding a bicycle, like, I mean, you do get that feeling like it's pretty cool when it's leaning over. And on the bike, yeah, you know what? I know we all like riding up around this area in the fall, whatever else. You're kind of at one with nature, riding, through the leaves changing color, whatever else. It's a different experience for sure. Sometimes wind in your hair, but I mean,
it's the one. Well, yeah, somebody's hair, not mine. It does. It's the one thing that relaxes me the most instantly. I get on my bike and in 30 seconds, I'm just like, whatever. Like, I love it. Okay. So we covered bikes, but we did the sit ski lesson thing together.
Yeah, so there was a couple of guys up here that ran the Kawartha Lake Ski School, and so I remember a couple of years after my accident, I think it's Aaron Zifkin and John Harlow,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a bunch of forget if they were New Zealanders or Australians. I think New Zealanders working for them, and so they've been teaching it. And anyways, they're like, "Hey, we have this sit ski," and I'm like, I don't think I'd heard of it at that point. Anyways, they sourced it out, brought it up here. So basically, a kind of oversized slalom ski that you're kind of buckled into sitting, where you would usually have the, front foot stirrup or boot, whatever else, and then for your back foot. Where this one had one front one for both your feet, and kind of another one for your butt in the back end of the ski. So anyways, they were learning, I was learning, so got me up on it. But that exhilarating feeling, like I used to love to water ski and went to ski camp and slalom, like that was it. That was such an exhilarating thing. Again, kind of the leaning and the gravity, kind of defying gravity, is a really cool feeling combined with being on the water. So they got me up on that, and it was phenomenal. So did that a couple of times. Ended up doing it down at Winter Haven down in Florida, where there's a lot of ski schools, and met some really cool people down there. Bought my own, and then we took the course on. It was more of a coaching course on how to do that, and there's some interesting stuff on that. And I'm a little hesitant. I bought too aggressive of a ski this time, so I'd like to get maybe a little less aggressive ski and get back out of the water, because and you're always, you love the water sports as well. in terms of wake surfing and whatnot. So I love being out in the water, and skiing is another thing that's just yeah, a lot of joy. I don't think there's any injuries to go with that one, other than I remember you trying it a couple of times. The sit ski, that is.
I think there was some drinks involved in that too, though.
Yeah, it looked like you got injured, even if you didn't. You had some epic falls.
You know what we should do is try. Somehow we should think about trying surfing.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, I think the same cage, they call it, the sit ski, like where you attach your feet in the seat on there. I think people have taken that same cage and put it on a wakeboard or put it on whatever else, an e-board or a sheet of plywood, whatever else. Let's tow something behind a boat with me on it.
Yeah. I wonder if this is just I think just a note that I'd point out for anybody listening, which would be, they may have this vision that you are, I mean, you're always in the boat. You've got 2 boats. You got the pontoon boat, which is easier for you to get in and out of, but you've had, I mean, you just got that a couple of years ago, but
yeah, I got that during, I had a burn after one of my smashiversaries. I was on the back of a boat, just kind of chilling, waiting to get back to my place to cook dinner for everybody. And it had open exhaust above the waterline, which is very rare. I mean, for a lot of reasons, and one is safety. But anyways, my foot was right behind that exhaust. So by the time we got home, it had been, steamed for 20-25 minutes. So had to go to the hospital, skin grafts, the whole 9 yards. And so then, I've got, a grafted leg and foot pretty much. So it was going to be no boating for the season. And I'm like, well, that's shouldn't be happening. So started pontoon shopping and bought a pontoon boat because I could literally just wheel on it in my wheelchair, drive from the chair or whatnot. And so that's how I got into like the pontoon. I've always thought, oh, that's the minivan of the water. I'm never doing that. So anyways, I had the one, and of course they said it would do 25 miles an hour. I ended up doing like 14. So I took that one back and got the one now that, they have tri-tunes like with a 350 in it, this one is. And so you can go out. Yeah, it's the most easy boat. I can wheel on, let someone else drive it or hop in and drive it. And it's very little, like other than that one transfer, it's very accessible. But yeah, I'm still.
But that's not the way it was for a lot of years.
Well, I still have, like, as I said, when I had my accident, I'm like, okay, I better go out and do the things I want to do before, the next time's for real. So I went out and bought the Baja, like brand new. I mean, it probably a foolish decision at the time. I think the dollar was at 63 cents. So that boat was insanely expensive, but I still have that boat to the day. And yeah, I love driving it. And it's a little bit trickier. I wheel up and kind of hop on, just behind the windshield and kind of drop myself into it. It is a lot more work, but it's also a lot more fun. Like once I'm in that thing, it's, closest thing to, and sea doing as well. Like, I mean, those two things are the closest thing to being on a motorbike on the water, right? In terms of speed.
But you're making it sound so simple. Right, you really are. Like you're really downplaying how much of a process it is for you. But
it is a process.
And the only reason why I'm saying is, like, there's people out there. Like for me, this actually, I guess, would be a reflection, for what I said earlier about mentoring. It's like, when I'm having trouble doing something, whatever it might be, and I'm struggling, and one of the role modeling things is I'm like, I think about you and the things that you have to do every single day to live the life you live. You don't live, you're not just going to an office and living in Toronto and taking a transfer and all that kind of stuff. You are living life at an unbelievably high level. You do more shit than, well, I don't even, I mean, I've got some friends that do more stuff than you, but not many.
Yeah.
I mean, not many. So you're really making it like,
there's definitely easier paths.
I mean, this
if someone were to watch
75 mile an hour boat, it goes like hell. You've had a couple of different engines in it to get it to go faster. Like, and you're like, you got to hop your ass into it, over it. You don't always catch the seat on the way down.
No, there's a lot of work. And like to watch me go sea doing is even funnier. Like, I mean, in terms of the process of, for me, it's getting from the chair to the dock, which is about 22-inch seat height, whatever, down to the dock, and then getting onto the seat without it floating away or, missing the seat. It's a process for sure. But again, it's just like, it's worth that for me. I love doing it. I love being out there, and it's, and there'll be a time, I'm sure, as I age, where that's not possible anymore or not feasible. And I had shoulder surgery and that wasn't good for a while. And I thought, okay, at the end of it, I can't believe they can put the human body back together like they could. Like I had one muscle completely separated in my shoulder. They had to cut the bicep tendon to do the surgery. And while they were in there, the other muscle, they were like, yeah, this one's hanging on by a thread. So let's cut that as well. And I was really worried that that would be my new life. So I was in a power chair, which is unbelievable. I would have thought how restrictive that is. But if you think of it, when I'll go up 1 or 2 stairs with, help of someone, whatever else, that doesn't happen in a power chair because it's kind of weigh 250 to 400 pounds plus the person in it. So, I mean, you're only going up ramps. You're not getting into, like, if we want to leave here right now, we can jump in your truck and drive to town. You throw my chair in the back and we're good to go. Or, I can drive. But I mean, at that point, like I needed to go up a ramp into a minivan and like drive from the chair or be a passenger from the chair or whatever else. So that was insane. If to think of it before of someone in a power chair with my, how ignorant I was is the only word for it, is to think that, okay, well, yeah, they can't use their arms, so they're using that, whatever else. But you don't realize all the extra things that are involved. It's kind of the same thing about, for every level of mobility that would be tough, from, being a walking to using a cane to using a walker to using a wheelchair, whatever else. To me, like, wow, the opener for power wheelchair. And I was kind of not prepared for that in a way. And I was really questioning whether my shoulder would go back together or if that was the new life. And like things that you don't think about in the back, like people think of me not walking as, the big thing. I remember when John Ryan, the guy that I was saying was kind of mentoring me, the realtor, he's from Whistler. So he rode a hand bike, which is basically a sit down bicycle. You pedal with your arms across Canada. We're going off on a huge segue. Right the year after I was injured. So I ended up hooking up with him and riding from Oshawa to Toronto the first day, and, got a pressure sore from being on the bike too long, and it totally blew out everything I had. Cause I'm like, he'd been training for years to do that. So I think it was 57 kilometers we did that first day, and he thought I'd do like 1 or 2, but I'm like, again, pretty damn stubborn and young at the time. I'm like, I'm doing the whole thing. So rode downtown, and then he had a speech in Mississauga the next day, which is kind of his hometown. And he addressed the crowd and got really personal about things that had changed in his life, because he was trying to make fundraising and awareness for spinal cord injuries. And, he's like, I know you guys look at me. He's like, I can't walk. He goes, that is probably the 20th thing on my list that I would change is walking. So he talked about, bladder, bowel function, sexual function, just all the other things in his day that are not walking. Like, to be honest, if you look at someone who has an incomplete injury, which meaning they still have some movement, whatever else, and they walk kind of funny, whatever else, like they still choose to be in the chair because it makes their life easier. So the chair, the not walking part is tiny when it comes to it, which is kind of the thing. So circling back to the being in the power chair, I'm like, I don't know if I get used to this. And another thing was I had, personal care workers in the morning to like get me in a Hoyer lift, like that sling thing, put me into my chair so I could go to the washroom or whatnot. So, and just the planning of it all, like they wanted to come at 7:30 to put me to bed for the night. And I'm like, that's not
you haven't been to bed at 7:30 since you were like 6 months old.
I do go to bed before the crowd, but I mean, it's not 7:30, right?
You do go to bed at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was a thing. I'm like, I don't know that, to be honest, that I can do this. And I was in a fairly new relationship at the time, and kind of said, like, I'm not sure where this is going to go. I'm not sure that I want to live this way, which is something you hear too. You hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't think I could do that." I don't think I could live in a wheelchair, and it's really shitty to hear, to tell you the truth, because that's that person basically, invalidating your life. Like, I wouldn't want to live your life. And until you know what, I might have said the same thing. You deal with what you're forced to in life. And I love my life. I'm fulfilled. I love every day of it almost. But that was another thing, to be, after 23 years of being in my personal situation in this disability, I wasn't sure if I was willing to take on more if my shoulder didn't go back together. So I had a lot of thoughts about, okay, what that looked like. And some of it was like, maybe I'll just cut back work, enjoy life for a couple of years, and see where it takes me after that point. But thankfully the shoulder went back together, and I'm able to do almost everything it was 2 years ago. So, but absolutely amazed. But yeah, every level has, and again, it's just, I can appreciate more someone having to plan, like where they're going to go, how they're going to get there. I can jump in an Uber. I can hitchhike if I get the guy to put my chair in the back of his trunk or whatever else. But every different level of disability has something that you just don't think about. So that was a huge one for me.
Was that tough? Like
really tough.
Yeah. It seems like I'm getting the vibe that it was tougher than maybe you were letting on.
Yeah. I honestly thought about, spending the savings and ending it all after once that's gone, like just going out, see the sites that I want to do from a power chair, whatever else. I wasn't sure if that was right for me after, 23 years of struggling, whether a further struggle, and I'm sure I will get there as I age, whatever else. I'm sure we're all going to, deteriorate, whatever else, but I just wasn't prepared for it that quickly. So I had serious thoughts and not morbid or sad thoughts or whatever else, but just, being on my own terms is, okay, this is, I don't know how much more, and maybe I could, maybe it would just be like the same cycle, and then I'd be Ryan in a power chair, and life would adjust, and that probably it is. But I did have serious thoughts about, maybe medically assisting, the end of my life before it was absolutely necessary. So yeah, there were some dark times after that accident. So I'm a little bit more careful, but I'm, my surgeon still can't believe. I'm like, can I go sea-dooing? He's like, you're serious? You're going to get back on that? I hurt the shoulder after a sea-doo fall. So he was pretty, he would call everyone, you got to meet this guy. He's in a wheelchair. He busted his shoulder in a sea-doo. And his only question is, when can he go sea-dooing again? So, but yeah, thankfully, I'm unbelievable that they can put your body back together. I would never imagine that they could sew muscles that came off back to the bone and whatnot. And I'm not a very, I'm not one for a lot of medical knowledge, but I'm happy they can do it.
Hey, well, we'll be bionic in
a
couple of decades probably.
I'll need it by then.
Yeah, you might need it. We might all need it, right? Yep. It's like, but sorry, just to circle back. How long were you in the power chair for?
Tough to say. No, it's not tough to say. I think it was around October where I had the surgery, and May, I think, was kind of when I was starting to use the power, or no, maybe around April. I was back in my manual chair, but it's funny because tough, and like every time something little would happen, my shoulder would hurt. I'm like, oh, did I rip the whole thing apart again? And I was so worried, and go back. And the surgeon was great. He gave me his personal email address, and only a couple of times he no, it's fine, whatever else. And physio, I took physio crazy seriously. Like when I had my main accident when I broke my back, I didn't do physio. I went to the gym and figured it out. I find massage therapy really helps, like some deep tissue massage there to keep me going. More recently, chiro has really helped. But physio, I just didn't really do. And after this one, it was like, okay, you have to go see a physiotherapist. I went and interviewed 4. 2 of them were really great. One of them just happened to be, easy to get to from my condo downtown. It was in the TD, one of the TD buildings, which was pretty cool. It looked over the lake, 30, whatever, top floor of the TD building. But I spent a crazy amount of money not to go there. They're all about the same, but I was committed because I'm like, if this doesn't work, it's not like if you screwed up your shoulder, and I've had friends who were like, you screwed up your shoulder. Okay, you got to do things a little differently. That's it for me. These are my legs and my shoulder. So I was, adamant. Like every day I get up, do the stretches, go to physio 3 times a week. And and the doctor said the surgery always works. It's what you do afterwards.
Right. And so did you, what was it? I guess 5 months? Was it 6 months? 5 months? 5 months. So did the mindset get worse? Did it get better? How did you deal with it?
Got worse for a bit, for sure.
Got worse for a bit.
Yeah. And just the frustration with, I think the main part of it was the further lack of independence in terms of not being able to get in and out of bed. Like once you're in bed, you're there until someone helps you out of bed, which is scary as shit. And you know what? I hate asking for help. You think it'd be easy after all these years of needing assistance, whatever else in certain things. And my go-to is to just figure it out and do it myself. But so usually it would be like, okay, I'm going to struggle, and whether I have to crawl or whatever I have to do, I'm going to make it happen. But knowing that that wasn't an option because, this broken wing that I had. So I had to play by the rules. I had to wait till those people got there. I had to get put to bed when I had to, whatever else. So that was a real, wouldn't say it was dark, but I mean, it wasn't fun, and it was worrisome about the future for sure. I worried a lot about, if it would heal and if not, what the next phase would look like. So,
yeah. And then when did it start getting better for you?
Once I was in my manual chair, and I don't want to put down the power chair, but it was just, as I said, it just made me appreciate the situation that I'm in every day more. So, that was freeing to be in a chair that weighs, 20 pounds rather than one that weighs 200. Being able to travel a little easier, being able to get in my car rather than a minivan. Minivans are great, but it's just not what I enjoy driving, and they're not very sporty and whatnot. So, so once that started happening, and it just ended up getting, mobility wise better and better. And the first time I rode my Sea-Doo afterwards, I'm like, and it didn't break and I didn't die. So that was a lot of fun. But again, that was, it was a dark, I guess it was dark. You were asking the question. I kind of, convinced myself that it wasn't, but probably wasn't a lot of dark thoughts and more worry than I'm used to about the future, short term and long term.
Yeah. So is it slowed you down at all? Do you think, as a result,
a little bit, but not much. I guess it would probably be again, I try to minimize when I say transfers. Anytime I'm getting out of the chair, it's considered a transfer, right? So whether I'm transferring onto the couch, whether I'm transferring into my car, onto the ground to get on a Sea-Doo, to go swimming or whatnot, I'm just way more careful than I was, knowing that, it wasn't an epic fall that caused that break. It was just, it was the landing. But just knowing that could happen at any time. I always knew that at some point, being in a manual wheelchair, you're going to get shoulder surgery, but I thought it would be farther in the future. I don't want to go through it again, even though I probably will with the other one at some point. So I just think of stuff a little bit more careful. You've seen now I drive a wagon, and everything I used to drive, the vet, whatever else, I used to take the chair apart, take the wheels apart, put it in the passenger seat of the car if I'm by myself, or somebody would put it in the trunk. Now I have this little robot arm that comes and grabs the chair from the front and puts it in the hatch of the car, which is amazing. It's so much work. It was such an unnatural motion for shoulders and elbow to have to carry those parts across your body. And it also beat the crap out of the car. So, it's, it was.
That is such cool technology, to see that work. Kudos to the people who are designing that stuff to make people's lives easier.
Amazing. And then there's the issue, it was $20,000. So, it's not accessible stuff. And there are cheaper options and whatnot, but and I'm not saying that should all be funded or whatnot, but it's not cheap. And like everything, I just got a new chair, and the price of a wheelchair is about $8,000. It's insane, and you are going to need them. And there are some different funding options and whatnot, but it's it's everything in life is
$8,000 for a chair.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's if you look at every piece of it, it would blow your mind. And I think part of the problem is a lot of this industry is insured, right? So I think the pricing structure is different when they know nobody's looking at it, right? So, it's funny. I can buy the same chair in the States way cheaper because there's so many, the population's way more and whatnot. And you can just go online too.
There's more competition.
So you can do it. Well, here most of it goes through some government funding, whatever else. So the pricing, they don't have to fight for your business. So it's insane. So, and if you find it used, amazing, because there's a lot of times, when someone doesn't need anymore, it's, they're dead or whatever else, unfortunately. Let's call it what it is. So the family has no need for that wheelchair or whatever it is anymore, but it's okay. To you, a wheelchair is a wheelchair. To me is okay. What's the width? What's the most important thing is the seat width and depth. And then, what was the center of gravity? What's the dump? All this different stuff, all these calculations. So for me to find someone else that's going to use this chair, it's tough.
Right.
So
they're pretty custom.
Yeah, they're pretty custom.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We didn't talk about the time you got thrown over the bridge on a bungee jump?
We did not talk about that. It was out in Whistler, and I was actually just out with my family. I went out for my cousin Todd's wedding. So we got married up at Needle Lake Lodge in Whistler. Gorgeous spot. And at some point during the night, me, his brother, and the groom, I decided, I'm like, I think tomorrow we should go bungee jumping. You know, you can go off the Whistler Bridge, and they did it with somebody in a wheelchair, and they just tied the wheelchair, whatever else, tossed him over, and I'm like, sounds like something we should do. So amazing. In the morning, I got on the phone, and both of them were like, "You were fucking serious?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're doing this."
Oh yeah, we're doing it.
So my cousin, who's been married for all of like 10 hours, his wife's probably like, "Really? This is how we're starting this day off?" So, and my other one, so we, traverse out there, and we're in the middle of this bridge, and then they're figuring out where to tie this to. So they actually tied like the bungees to me and the chair. I didn't know if I'd be going like in the chair, out of the chair, whatever else. So we get it all wrapped up, and then there's about a 4-foot handrail so people don't, fall off the bridge, whatever else. And usually you would go through this little gate, and then you would do that 3-2-1 bungee and kind of jump off, whatever else. But the chair doesn't fit through the gate. So, and the guys there are like, we need 2 like volunteers to help like throw Ryan off the bridge. And of course, both my cousins were like, we're there. So I forget who was videotaping. There's a video, and you can see it's from about 10 feet away. And so, and they've got me 4 feet in the air, which is uncomfortable anyway, because, 4 people holding like the 4 points. Imagine sitting in like a kitchen chair with 4 different people holding those things. You're wobbly up there. And so they're doing 3, 2, 1, and just, you can hear me go, oh fuck, just as they're about to throw me over. So the video is epic. And I will say it's one of the most exhilarating things I've ever done, like far more so than bungee, than skydiving. So when you're first going down, like the earth is coming at you so quick, and it's not that far. So I wasn't even able to scream. It was just like, kind of like, whoa. And this might be the done part right here. So then finally you bounce back up, and you realize you're not dead. And then kind of halfway through the second way down, I'm like, but again, super exhilarating. I will never do it again. I've done it.
I've seen the video, and like, it literally looks like 2 guys are throwing you in a dumpster. Like, it's
it's not graceful.
Yeah.
I still want to put that on. I think I should put that on YouTube and gather some hits. Like,
You 100% should.
Man in a wheelchair thrown off a bridge. Yeah. It's clickbait. So, so make some wine money out of that or something. So
yeah, I agree. I think I've bungee jumped, I've skydived. For sure, bungee jumping is looking out over where you're going to be falling. Like when you jump out of a plane, it's just kind of like you see out in the horizon, or you can look at it, it's so far away.
Yeah, it's not imminent.
Right. And it's quite relaxing doing it actually when you're falling. But when you're in they're holding you over top of the bridge, and you're looking out going, what the hell am I doing? But yeah, anyways, what else? Is there any other
stupid stuff that I've done?
Like, you sea-doo, you bike, you boat, you played sport. Weren't you playing basketball? And did you play basketball in the chair?
No, you know what? So a lot of people that I know do. Unfortunately, with the job, I can't commit really to a team sport without, letting that team down, because quite often they're like, you need to be there. So I try not to do something like that where I set myself up for failure. I love playing basketball. Just grabbing a ball and shooting some hoops, whether I'm on vacation or if there's just a quarter around. I think it's a lot of fun. I love, I go to almost every Raptors game.
I'm a huge
I'm a diehard fan. So yeah, and half it is because I love playing. But other than that, I just, I'd like to try everything. I was landed a plane a couple of years ago, which was pretty cool. I was up with a pilot friend of mine, and I was thinking about getting a plane or a license, but realized how much planning and whatnot goes into a plane trip when you're the pilot. It's not right for me. So I didn't, but it was cool to drive the plane and then to land the plane, whatever else. It was a pretty cool experience, and no injuries on that one. So he's happy with that since he owns the plane, and I was happy about that. So
good one.
Yeah.
Check the box.
Yep. Pretty good.
Nice.
Pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, buddy. Honestly, it's, if you had to put a bumper sticker on it, like on the life, or like the one thing that you learn that you'd want to impose on people. And I mean, obviously this is a business podcast. We've been talking a lot of personal, but we're all we're really talking about adversity. Um, and I'm a big believer that you can garner. I'm a big believer in stories and being able to like extract from people's stories and utilize, what they've done in their life to be able to help yourself do something, put yourself on a different path, make a different choice, influence in a different way. But if you had to put a bumper sticker on it all, what would it be?
Man, I would love that question to be prepared for this one. Thanks, DK.
Yeah. Take your time.
Yeah. What would the bumper sticker be?
And I'll just let it fester. So, think about it a little bit, but it's, one of the things that I just think you have so many powerful things. You have so many powerful stories. You've done so much. You think outside the box. Your attitude's so like unbelievable. Like I really loved, like, I don't know, maybe I'm obviously taking this from my own, kind of looking at it through my own rose colored glasses, but I'd love to see you on stage sometime, speaking, because the message is so powerful.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of, was just thinking about the bumper sticker thing back to there. There's a bunch of business stuff that, one of them would be one that I would put, but I don't want to get into that story. But I think that a lot of the personal stuff. So it was a story I heard, and I'm gonna butcher it and whatnot, but and I will have this polished by the time I'm on stage. And it's a story that's been told by many speakers, and many different. I can't even find the origin when I was looking at it, but it's a thing to do with about confrontation and anger and whatnot, which I think is really important in the way you live your life and the way you do your business. And so basically the story is, or the way that the speaker told it was, okay, what I want you to do is every time, you get angry at someone, get a potato, carve their name in it. So you'd piss me off today. I carve a potato, DK, and I'm going to throw it in my backpack, whatever else. And so as you live your life, or let's just dump it down to one day.
Mm-hmm. So probably have a big knapsack.
Yeah, exactly. So, so you're doing that, and this story goes on, and so your day goes and your week goes on, and you're like, well, what happens with that bag of potatoes by the end of the week or whatever else? Well, A, it gets really heavy to carry around, and B, it starts to stink. Like, you have these rotten potatoes. And so the end of that was drop your potatoes, and it was a lesson that I think I'd already learned at that point, but it really resonated with me both personally and business wise to be like, okay, you know what? The blame game that we talked about before, or being angry or looking at the past, or whatever else. Cause I kind of, even if it's not anger or if it's not someone, like, let's say I had a potato with, my motorbike accident on it, whatever else. I want to drop all that. And like, I think it's really freeing to just get rid of, if you're mad at someone or you never want to speak to someone again, cool. If that's the best thing for you, then never speak with them again. But then why dwell on it? Like, just be happy that potato's out of your life. You're not carrying it. It doesn't smell, whatever else. Just keep moving forward. So I think that would be probably one of my bumper stickers. Would be drop your potatoes for sure. Just keep moving forward. Like, don't, like, as I said before, like, there's no reason to hold on to that kind of crap in your life.
It's an awesome analogy. Like, I love it. It's, you got another bumper sticker, or was there any?
That's the only catchy one.
I love the story. It's funny. I used to work, I had a mentor and boss mentor. And I was very young at the time, but I had I was in a role that I shouldn't have been in for my age and my experience. It just was too much, like a lot of stuff to do. And I asked him one night, I said, like, how do you sleep at night? Like, with all the stuff you got going on, like, how are you able to just let it go? Cause I was unable to let it go at night, and I couldn't sleep, and I'd be festering on the things that happened in the day and all that kind of stuff. And he says, most nights, I'll take a walk. No described time, not before bed or anything like that. But along the walk, I visualize the problems that came up during the day, and I visualize myself setting them down like rocks along my route. And I set them down at night and go through that visualization process. Obviously, it doesn't work the first time, but over time and repetition of doing it, every single night, that's what he would do. He would go for a walk. If he didn't, he'd walk through his house, it was pouring rain or whatever, visualize dropping his problems off like rocks. And then in the morning, he just go back and picks them back up. And it was like your story reminded me of that, but it's,
Yeah, I think that's genius. I have a similar reason. I sleep like a baby. It drives people nuts, whatever else. I can hit the pillow and I'm out. Like, I mean, I sleep very well, thankfully, because I hear all these horror stories of people having sleep issues and insomnia or whatever the case is. And I had a very similar strategy proposed to me as that rock story. I found a lot of times when I went to bed, I was just worrying about, what I have to do tomorrow. And will I forget something or whatever else? So I ended up having a pad beside my bed, and I would jot down, whatever came to my head in the 5 minutes before bed or stuff that I knew I should be worried about tomorrow. And I found that physical thing of writing it down and knowing it's there in the morning, I didn't think about it at night. So I put those rocks down kind of prospectively the same way, knowing that they're there, and I just allowed me to sleep, amazingly. I don't physically do that anymore, but
you don't have to probably.
Yeah. It's just become a mindset knowing that, okay, if it's important, you're not going to forget about it, tomorrow. Like, I mean, and if you are, like, text yourself, there's so many, or set yourself in a reminder, hey, Google, whatever it is. But, my phone just lit up there. But whatever it is. So I found, that story of yours resonated with me. Yeah. But being able to put those problems down mentally, because your body needs a rest too. And like, if you let your body do it, it'll trying to keep solving. Like, even I'm sure, when you're asleep, your body's still trying to solve some of those problems you've been thinking about all day.
Yep. Yeah. Your body and your mind. Right. And it's just like, buddy, great conversation. Really appreciate you being on the show. I'd love for you to come back. We probably have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, this was great. I mean, I really appreciate the cool time. And I mean, I love the studio and everything. This is very neat. I'd love to do it and have some more thoughts to write down and whatnot, because I'm sure we're missing half the great stories of silly things that have happened along the way
of your life. But it's been an unbelievable life, and you are an example for anybody who meets you. I mean, somewhere I feel like there's a book in there. There's just, you have a great story to tell people, and you're a living example of somebody who doesn't leave it on the. You don't leave anything. You leave it all on the table, right? You put it all out.
Life is for the living, man. You got to get out and try it. I mean, as I said, you know what? There's a fine line. Like, don't be stupid about it, but also get out and experience things. And I mean, and cherish your time and use those hours as wisely as you can. I mean, I'm guilty as anyone of scrolling on Facebook too long and doing the stupid things. But then, what am I getting out of that? Like, I try to think of that once in a while is, okay, focus it. And what I'm doing right now, if it was your last day, would you be doing it, kind of thing. So yeah, love to chat again. Always fun. And let me know.
I think you just said it. Life is about living. You got to get out and try it. Dude, that's an awesome quote. Is that your quote, or is that?
I think you tuned tuned it up a bit, but yeah, we could work on that.
No, isn't that like? I mean, that's what I heard you say. Like, life is about living. You got to get out and try it.
You got to get out and try the things. And I mean, as we talked about before, there's risk in everything. So try to manage your risk. Do what's fun. But I mean, if you sit in your same thing every day, you're not growing for sure.
Dude, I love it. Guys, folks listening, life's about living. Go out and try it. Ryan, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. I'm blessed to call you my friend. I'm blessed to know you.
I feel the same about you. Thanks so much for the time. And this was great.